The rain came down in sheets, drumming against the roof of Tyler Patterson's aging Ford pickup as he squinted through the foggy windshield. His wipers struggled against the downpour, the rubber blades having seen better days, just like everything else in his life. It was nearly midnight, and he was driving home from his second job, bone-tired, but with just enough cash in his pocket to buy his daughter Emma the shoes she needed for school. Tyler spotted the stranded BMW on the side of the rural road, hazard lights blinking weakly through the curtain of rain. He could have driven past. God knows he was exhausted, but something made him pull over. Maybe it was the memory of all those times when no one had stopped for him. Emma would want me to help, he murmured to himself, thinking of his 7-year-old daughter sleeping at his sister's house. He grabbed his worn jacket and stepped out into the deluge. The woman inside the luxury car looked up with startled eyes as he tapped on her window. She hesitated before rolling it down an inch. "Car trouble?" Tyler asked, rain dripping from his dark hair onto his face. "It just died," she replied, her voice tight with frustration and something else, wariness, perhaps. "I've called for roadside assistance, but they said it will be at least 2 hours." 2 hours in this weather? Tyler shook his head. "Mind if I take a look? I'm pretty good with engines." The woman studied him for a long moment. Tyler knew what she saw. A 6-foot man with broad shoulders, stubble on his jaw, and clothes that had seen too many washes. But something in his steady gaze must have reassured her. "I'm Tyler Patterson," he offered, rain streaming down his face. "Brooke Evans," she replied, and finally opened her door. Under the hood of the BMW, Tyler worked methodically, his hands moving with practiced ease despite the rain. Brooke held her umbrella over him as best she could, but they both ended up soaked anyway. "Loose connection to your battery terminal," he explained, tightening it with a wrench he kept in his truck. "Simple fix, but these newer models can be finicky." Brooke watched him with curiosity. "You know a lot about cars." "I used to be a mechanic before." Tyler paused. Before the divorce, before his ex-wife moved across the country, before he became a single dad juggling 3 jobs to make ends meet. "Before I changed careers." "What do you do now?" she asked. "Construction during the day, bartending some nights, and I do handyman work on the weekends." Tyler wiped his hands on a rag. "Try starting it now." Brooke slid behind the wheel, and the engine purred to life. Her relieved smile lit up her face, and for the first time, Tyler really noticed her honey-brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, intelligent hazel eyes, and a warmth in her smile that made him forget about the cold rain for a moment. "You're a lifesaver," she said. "How much do I owe you?" Tyler waved her off. "Nothing, just helping out." "At least let me buy you a coffee sometime," Brooke insisted. "To say thank you properly?" Tyler hesitated. Coffee with a beautiful woman who drove a car that cost more than he made in a year. It seemed like the start of a bad joke. But something about her genuine gratitude made him nod. Sure, coffee would be nice. They exchanged numbers, and as Tyler watched her drive away, he never imagined that the woman in the expensive car was Brooke Evans, the CEO of Evolve Technologies, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the region. And Brooke, as she glanced in her rearview mirror at the soaked man standing in the rain, had no idea how much that chance encounter would change both their lives. 3 days later, Tyler's phone buzzed while he was spreading peanut butter on Emma's sandwich for her lunchbox. "Daddy, is that work again?" Emma asked, her small face scrunching with disappointment. At 7, she was already too familiar with the calls that took her father away. Tyler glanced at the unknown number. "I'm not sure, sweetie. Finish your cereal, okay?" He answered, wedging the phone between his ear and shoulder as he continued making lunch. Tyler Patterson. "Hi, Tyler, it's Brooke. From the other night, you fixed my car in the rain." Her voice brought a surprising warmth to his chest. "Of course, how's the car running?" "Perfectly, thanks to you. Listen, I was wondering if that coffee offer still stands. I'm free this afternoon around 4. Tyler glanced at his schedule on the refrigerator, covered in Emma's rainbow stickers. He had a 2-hour gap between his construction job and picking up Emma from his sister's house. 4 works for me. They agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown, and after hanging up, Tyler found himself smiling until Emma's voice brought him back to reality. "Who was that, Daddy?" "You're smiling funny." "Just a friend," Tyler replied, ruffling her hair. "Finish your breakfast, monkey. We've got to get you to school." At precisely 4 o'clock, Tyler entered the coffee shop, feeling distinctly out of place. He'd come straight from the construction site, having barely enough time to wash his hands and face. His work boots were still dusty, and his jeans bore the evidence of a day spent installing drywall. He spotted Brooke immediately, sitting at a corner table. She wore a simple blouse and jeans, her hair loose around her shoulders, looking far more casual than he'd expected. Tyler almost didn't recognize her from the rain-soaked night. "You made it," Brooke smiled, standing to greet him. "Sorry about that." Tyler gestured to his work clothes. "Don't apologize. I invited you straight from work." She waved away his concern. "Besides, I came from the rock climbing gym, so I'm hardly dressed for high tea myself." They settled in with their coffees, and to Tyler's surprise, conversation flowed easily. Brooke asked about his jobs and listened with genuine interest. Tyler found himself telling her about Emma, about becoming a single dad when his ex-wife decided parenting wasn't for her and moved to California 3 years ago. "Emma's everything to me," Tyler said, his eyes softening. "She's smart, funny, too smart sometimes, always asking questions I don't know how to answer." "She sounds wonderful," Brooke said. "How do you balance everything, 3 jobs and being a full-time dad?" Tyler shrugged. "My sister helps a lot, and Emma's pretty independent for a 7-year-old. He paused, suddenly conscious of how his life must sound to someone like Brooke. "What about you? What do you do?" Brooke hesitated for just a moment. "I work in tech, project management mostly." Tyler nodded, not pressing for details. They talked about movies they'd seen, mostly animated ones in Tyler's case. Books they'd read. Brooke had a passion for science fiction, while Tyler confessed a weakness for historical fiction, and places they wanted to visit. "I should get going," Tyler said reluctantly, checking his watch. "I need to pick up Emma from my sister's place." "Of course," Brooke said. "This was nice, though. Maybe we could do it again sometime." The hopeful note in her voice surprised Tyler. "I'd like that." As they walked out together, Brooke pointed to a sleek, silver Tesla parked nearby. "That's me." Tyler whistled low. Project management must pay well. Something flashed across Brooke's face, discomfort, perhaps, but she just smiled. "I've been lucky." They said goodbye, and Tyler watched her drive away before heading to his truck. As he started the engine, which coughed twice before catching, he wondered what a woman like Brooke could possibly see in a guy like him. But the warmth in her eyes when she'd suggested meeting again had seemed genuine, and for the first time in a long while, Tyler allowed himself to hope. Brooke sat in her expansive corner office, staring out at the city skyline without really seeing it. Her assistant had just left after reviewing her packed schedule for the day board meetings, investor calls, and a press conference about Evolve's latest product launch. But her thoughts kept drifting to a rain-soaked night and a pair of kind eyes. "Miss Evans?" Her assistant, Deanne, reappeared at the door. "The board members are waiting in the conference room." Brooke nodded, gathering her tablet and standing. "Thank you, Deanne, and could you please order in lunch?" "I think this will run long." As Brooke strode through the halls of Evolve Technologies, employees nodding respectfully as she passed, she felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. At 34, she was one of the youngest CEOs in the industry, having built Evolve from a startup in her garage to a company employing over 300 people. The board meeting went as expected: financial projections, marketing strategies, and discussions about expanding into international markets. Brooke led with confidence and clarity, but a small part of her mind kept wandering to Tyler and the genuine way he had spoken about his daughter. That evening, alone in her penthouse apartment, Brooke kicked off her heels and poured herself a glass of wine. The city lights twinkled below, but the view that had once thrilled her now felt empty. She picked up her phone and found Tyler's contact. Is it too soon to text him? She wondered aloud. 3 days had passed since their coffee date, and she hadn't stopped thinking about him, his weathered hands, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, how passionately he spoke about Emma. Before she could overthink it, she typed out a message. I enjoyed our coffee the other day. Would you and Emma like to join me for pizza and a movie this weekend? There's a new animated film playing that looks fun. She hit send before she could change her mind, then set her phone down, trying not to stare at it. When it buzzed a few minutes later, her heart jumped. Emma would love that. So would I. Saturday afternoon work. Brooke smiled and typed back a confirmation, a warm anticipation building inside her. Then she paused, her smile fading slightly as she realized she still hadn't told Tyler what she really did. It hadn't been a deliberate lie, just an omission born from years of experience. Too many people changed around her when they discovered she was worth millions. They either wanted something from her or became intimidated and distant. With Tyler, she had felt like just a woman being helped on a rainy night, then having coffee with an interesting man. Not CEO Brooke Evans with all the expectations and complications that came with that title. I'll tell him soon, she promised herself, setting her phone aside. Just not yet. Saturday arrived with perfect autumn weather, crisp and sunny. Tyler felt a mix of nervousness and excitement as he helped Emma pick out her clothes. Is Brooke your girlfriend, Daddy? Emma asked, pulling on her favorite purple sweater. Tyler nearly choked. No, honey, she's just a friend. She helped me out with something, and now we're all going to see a movie together. Like a play date? Emma's eyes lit up. Something like that, Tyler agreed, helping her tie her shoes. They met Brooke outside the theater, and Tyler's breath caught at the sight of her in jeans, a soft green sweater, and a leather jacket, her hair caught in a loose braid. She looked beautiful in a casual, approachable way that made his heart beat faster. You must be Emma, Brooke said, kneeling down to the little girl's level. Your dad has told me a lot about you. Emma, usually shy with strangers, surprised Tyler by grinning widely. He told me you like movies with robots and aliens. I like those too. Brooke laughed, a genuine sound that made Tyler smile. Well, today's movie has talking animals instead. Is that okay? Even better, Emma declared, taking Brooke's hand as if they were already friends. The afternoon passed in a blur of animated animals, pizza, and Emma's delighted laughter. Tyler watched in amazement as his daughter chatted easily with Brooke, showing none of her usual reserve. Brooke, for her part, seemed completely at ease, answering Emma's endless questions with patience and genuine interest. She's incredible with kids, Tyler thought, watching Brooke help Emma construct an elaborate pizza-topping tower. There was something so natural about the way they interacted, none of the awkwardness he'd seen with other women he'd dated since becoming a single dad. After the movie, they strolled through a nearby park, Emma running ahead to the playground while Tyler and Brooke walked at a slower pace. You have an amazing daughter, Brooke said, watching Emma climb the monkey bars. She seems to really like you, Tyler replied. That's rare. She's usually more cautious with new people. Kids can sense authenticity, Brooke said. I never learned how to be anything but myself around children. They see right through pretense. Tyler studied her profile, curiosity building. You sound like you have experience with kids. My sister has 2 boys, Brooke explained. I spend as much time with them as I can, though my work schedule makes it harder than I'd like. Project management keeps you busy, huh? Brooke's smile faltered slightly. Tyler, I should probably, Daddy, Brooke, watch this. Emma called from the top of the slide, and the moment passed as they both turned to wave and cheer for her daring descent. As the afternoon wound down and Emma's energy began to flag, they headed back toward the parking lot. Brooke knelt to say goodbye to Emma, who surprised both adults by throwing her arms around Brooke's neck in a tight hug. "Can we do this again?" Emma asked. "You're fun." "I would love that," Brooke said softly, returning the hug. Standing to face Tyler, Brooke seemed to make a decision. "I'd like to cook dinner for you both next weekend. At my place, if that's not too forward." Tyler felt a flutter of nervousness but nodded. "We'd like that." As they parted ways, Tyler lifting a sleepy Emma into his truck, he couldn't help but wonder what Brooke's home would be like, what her life was like beyond the glimpses she'd shared. Something told him there was more to her story than project management and a love of science fiction. But the way she looked at him like he was someone worth knowing made the questions seem less important than the growing connection between them. The following Friday, Brooke paced her kitchen, checking the lasagna in the oven for the third time in 10 minutes. She'd spent the day in tense negotiations with potential investors, but her mind had repeatedly wandered to the evening ahead. She'd left the office early, shocking her assistant to prepare for dinner. Her penthouse, usually a showcase of minimalist design, had been subtly child-proofed. Fragile objects moved to higher shelves, sharp corners covered, and a selection of age-appropriate books and games arranged on the coffee table. She'd even filled her usually empty refrigerator with juice boxes and ingredients for homemade ice cream. "Get it together, Evans," she muttered to herself. "It's just dinner." But it wasn't just dinner, and she knew it. Tyler and Emma had awakened something in her, a longing for connection, for family, for a life beyond boardrooms and spreadsheets. The doorbell rang, and Brooke took a deep breath, smoothing her hands over her simple dress before opening the door. Emma burst in first, her eyes widening as she took in the spacious apartment with its wall of windows overlooking the city. "Wow, you live in the sky." Tyler followed more slowly, a bottle of wine in one hand and a small bouquet of daisies in the other. He'd clearly made an effort, wearing a button-down shirt that brought out the blue in his eyes, his dark hair still damp from a shower. "These are for you," he said, offering the flowers. Emma picked them out. "They're my favorites," Brooke said, genuinely touched by the simple gesture. "I told Daddy you'd like yellow ones better than red roses," Emma declared. "Red roses are boring." Tyler's cheeks colored slightly. "Emma has opinions about flowers." "Smart girl," Brooke laughed, leading them into the apartment. Tyler's expression as he took in the penthouse didn't escape her notice, the brief widening of his eyes, the way he glanced at the artwork on the walls, the momentary hesitation in his step. But to his credit, he didn't comment on the obvious luxury surrounding them. Dinner went smoothly, with Emma dominating the conversation, telling Brooke about school, her friends, and her dream of becoming a veterinarian or possibly an astronaut. She hadn't decided yet. After they'd finished eating, Brooke suggested making ice cream, producing an old-fashioned hand-crank ice cream maker that had belonged to her grandmother. "Ice cream making is a team sport," she explained, setting up the machine on her balcony. "Everyone has to take turns cranking." The next hour was filled with laughter as they took turns with the crank, adding fresh strawberries and vanilla, and speculating on the results. Emma's delight when they finally opened the container to reveal perfectly frozen ice cream was worth every minute of preparation. As they sat eating their creation, the city lights twinkling below, Emma eventually dozed off on the couch, worn out from excitement and sugar. "I should probably get her home," Tyler said softly, stroking his daughter's hair. "Of course," Brooke nodded, though reluctance colored her voice. As Tyler gently gathered Emma into his arms, Brooke stood close, watching the tenderness in his movements. "Tyler, there's something I should tell you," she began, knowing she couldn't put it off any longer. "I haven't been completely honest about what I do." Tyler straightened, Emma secure in his arms. "Oh, I'm not just in project management," Brooke said, meeting his eyes. "I'm the CEO of Evolve Technologies. I founded the company 8 years ago." Tyler's expression didn't change immediately, but she saw the information register in his eyes. "Evolve, the tech company, the one that makes those smart home systems." "Among other things, yes," Brooke confirmed, Tyler was silent for a long moment, adjusting Emma's weight in his arms. "Why didn't you just say so from the beginning?" "People tend to act differently around me when they know," Brooke explained. "They either want something from me or they feel intimidated. I liked that you treated me like a regular person." Tyler nodded slowly. "I get that, I think, but Brooke, I would have treated you the same regardless." "I believe that now," she said softly. "I'm sorry I wasn't upfront." "Well, it explains the fancy car. And this place," Tyler glanced around. "Does Emma's ice cream coma get me a rain check on processing this information?" Brooke smiled, relieved at his reaction. "Of course." "Go take care of your daughter. Call me tomorrow." "I will," Tyler promised, and as he left with Emma, Brooke felt both apprehension and hope swirling inside her. The next day, Tyler sat at his kitchen table while Emma colored nearby, his thoughts in turmoil. He'd spent the night researching Brooke Evans, CEO. The woman who had held his umbrella in the rain, who had made his daughter laugh, who looked at him like he mattered, was one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country. Articles described her as brilliant, innovative, occasionally ruthless in business. Photos showed her in boardrooms, at charity galas, speaking at tech conferences. In every image, she looked polished, powerful, and somehow unreachable. "Daddy, when can we see Brooke again?" Emma asked, not looking up from her drawing. "I'm not sure, monkey," Tyler replied honestly. "Is it because she has a big fancy house and we don't?" Emma's perception sometimes startled him. "No, it's not that," Tyler said, though part of him wondered if that was exactly it. What could he possibly offer someone like Brooke Evans? His phone rang, and seeing Brooke's name on the screen made his heart jump. He answered, stepping onto the small porch of their rented house. "Hey," he said, uncertainty making his voice rough. "Hi," Brooke replied. "I was worried you might not answer." "Why wouldn't I?" "Because you spent last night Googling me and freaking out." There was a nervous laugh in her voice. Tyler couldn't help but smile. "Guilty as charged." "And now you're reconsidering everything, because what could the CEO of a tech company possibly want with a construction worker/bartender/handyman? "You're reading my mind, which is frankly a little creepy," Tyler said, but the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. "Tyler, I want to see you again. You and Emma. The real me, not CEO Brooke. Just Brooke, she hasn't connected with anyone the way she connects with you two." The sincerity in her voice touched something in him. "The real me, just Tyler, he feels the same way, but Brooke, our lives are so different." "Are they?" Brooke challenged. "We both work too much, we both care about family, we both like the same awful sci-fi movies, the rest is just circumstantial." Tyler leaned against the porch railing, considering her words. "I can't offer you what you're used to." "I don't want what I'm used to," Brooke said softly. "I want something real." After a long pause, Tyler made a decision. "Emma's been asking when we can see you again." "And what about Emma's dad?" "He's been wondering the same thing," Tyler admitted. "Come over tomorrow," Brooke suggested. "I'll cook again." "No," Tyler said firmly. "This time you come to our place, dinner at 6, nothing fancy, but it'll be real." The smile in Brooke's voice was almost tangible. "I'd love that." The next evening, Tyler watched anxiously as Brooke's Tesla pulled up in front of his modest rental house. Emma, who had been peering out the window for the past half hour, squealed with excitement and ran to the door. Brooke emerged from her car looking beautiful in simple jeans and a blouse, carrying a bag of groceries and a wrapped package that was obviously for Emma. She hesitated briefly, taking in the small house with its slightly overgrown yard and peeling paint, but her smile never wavered as she approached. "Welcome to our home," Tyler said, holding the door open. "It's so cozy." Brooke exclaimed, entering the living room where toys were neatly stacked in one corner and family photos lined the walls. "I love it." Emma bounced impatiently. "Is that for me?" "Emma," Tyler warned, but Brooke laughed. "It is," she confirmed, handing over the package. "But maybe save it for after dinner?" Emma looked at her father, who nodded, and she carefully placed the gift on the coffee table. "I'll show you my room instead." As Emma dragged Brooke away for the tour, Tyler returned to the kitchen to check on dinner, a simple meal of roasted chicken and vegetables. He could hear Emma's excited chatter and Brooke's warm responses, and something settled in his chest, a feeling of rightness he hadn't expected. When they returned, Brooke insisted on helping with dinner preparations, moving around Tyler's small kitchen with ease. They worked together comfortably, as if they'd done it countless times before, their movements falling into a natural rhythm. Over dinner, Brooke told Emma stories about growing up with her sister, about building her first computer when she was 12, and about the time she accidentally set off the fire alarm at her first office. "You're not what I expected," Tyler admitted later, as they sat on the porch swing after Emma had gone to bed, her new book of constellation maps clutched tightly even in sleep. "What did you expect?" Brooke asked, her shoulder warm against his in the cool evening air. "Someone more." Tyler struggled for the word. "Unapproachable, I guess, corporate." "I can be that person when I need to be," Brooke said, "but it's not who I am inside. Just like you're not just construction worker or single dad, we're all more complicated than our labels." Tyler nodded, his hand finding hers in the darkness. "For what it's worth, I like complicated Brooke." "Good," she said, squeezing his hand, "because I like complicated Tyler." In the months that followed, their lives began to intertwine with a naturalness that surprised them both. Brooke joined them for weekend outings, school events, and quiet evenings at Tyler's house. Tyler and Emma became familiar with Brooke's penthouse, though Emma still referred to it as the Sky House. Brooke learned to navigate the world of second-grade politics and princess movies, while Tyler discovered he had a knack for understanding Brooke's tech projects, his practical mind often offering solutions her team of engineers had overlooked. They faced challenges, too raised eyebrows from Brooke's board members, when rumors of her relationship with a construction worker began to circulate. Tyler's pride when Brooke offered to help with Emma's school tuition. The logistics of balancing their vastly different schedules. But through it all, what had begun on a rainy night deepened into something neither had expected to find. 6 months after that first meeting, Tyler stood in Brooke's kitchen, washing dishes while she put away leftovers. Emma had fallen asleep watching a movie in the living room, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. "Move in with me," Brooke said suddenly, setting down the container she was holding. Tyler turned, dish towel in hand. "What?" "You and Emma, move in with me," Brooke repeated. "We practically live together anyway, splitting time between 2 places. Emma's already got her own room here, and I hate waking up without you both." Tyler was quiet, considering. "You know it would mean more attention from the press." "CEO shacks up with blue-collar dad isn't exactly a low-profile headline." "I don't care," Brooke said firmly. "And technically, you run your own handyman business now, so it would be CEO shacks up with entrepreneur." Tyler smiled at that. The business had been Brooke's idea, centralizing his various skills into a legitimate company. With her business guidance and his expertise, it had grown steadily, allowing him to quit his other jobs and have more time with Emma. What about Emma? This neighborhood doesn't have many kids her age. "We could look for a house," Brooke suggested. "Something with a yard in a good school district, not a penthouse." Tyler set down the towel and crossed to her, taking her hands in his. "Are you sure about this, about us?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Brooke said. "I love you, Tyler." "I love Emma. I want us to be a family." "We are a family," Tyler said softly, pulling her close. "And yes, we'll move in with you, but I have one condition." Brooke looked up at him, questioning. "Marry me," Tyler said simply. "Not today, not tomorrow, but someday, when we're ready." Tears welled in Brooke's eyes as she nodded, words failing her for once. She wrapped her arms around his neck, holding on as if he might disappear. Later that night, as they told a sleepy but excited Emma about their plans, Tyler marveled at how different his life was from a year ago. Then, he had been a struggling single dad, barely keeping his head above water. Now he ran his own business, had found love with an extraordinary woman, and was part of a family that felt whole. Will I get to be a flower girl at the wedding? Emma asked, her eyes bright despite her tiredness. The very best flower girl, Brooke promised, tucking the blanket around her. And will we have a dog at the new house? Emma continued, clearly seeing an opportunity to negotiate. Tyler and Brooke exchanged amused glances. We'll discuss that later, Tyler said, kissing his daughter's forehead. Sleep now, negotiations tomorrow. As they stood together in the doorway, watching Emma drift off to sleep, Brooke leaned her head against Tyler's shoulder. Thank you for stopping that night, she whispered. Thank you for having car trouble, Tyler replied, kissing the top of her head. Outside, rain began to fall, pattering against the windows in a gentle rhythm that reminded them both of beginnings and second chances, of helping hands offered on dark nights, and of love found in the most unexpected places.